Welcome to the SBR NHL Ice Guys. It's Thursday, October 11th. I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review, joined by Alex B. Smith and Jimmy Murphy. Andrew McGinnis may also be along momentarily on today's show as well. Guys, I don't think we have enough games to talk about today. We only got 12. I mean, what are we going to do with ourselves for the next hour? Should be a fantastic show. Great games, a lot of intriguing action to talk about. So let's get right down to business. Starting at the top of the card, we've got the Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Right now, no line on this game currently as of yet. It's a situation where the Vegas Golden Knights in action last night against the Washington Capitals, a 5-2 loss for them. Starting to wonder now what could be going on with this Vegas Golden Knights team. We know they've got some key guys out of the lineup. Nate Schmidt, I think, is a difference maker. Not having him on the blue line to begin the season, serving that suspension for the violating the performance-enhancing substance policy implemented by the NHL. He's obviously a clean, athlete. I think it's a situation where, again, something slipped in with it, whatever thing he was taking, and didn't realize it. I mean, I think that's a common occurrence. It's becoming a common occurrence. So when you look at it, Nate Schmidt, a guy that I think is underrated, a guy that, not going to get talked about, but, just a steady, reliable blue liner for the Golden Knights. Could also chip in a little bit offensively. Very good in his own zone. Not having him as hurt. Alex Tuch hasn't suited up for a game yet. They played without Paul Stastny last night. He got injured against Buffalo, did not suit up last night, looking like a day-to-day situation with him. So right now the Vegas Golden Knights have a lot of things to overcome, and they're not generating the offense on a game-to-game basis that they did last season. And you got to wonder, do you miss a James Neal just a little bit? Obviously, Stastny being out hurts a little bit. William Karlsson's been actually a little bit quiet. Marcia even. So you're looking for those two guys in particular, especially when you've got some question marks with your depth forwards right now. Those are the two guys you're going to have to rely on to pull Vegas out of this just little swoon. I mean, it's nothing to go just get panic about, but definitely a little bit of a slow start for the Vegas Golden Knights. Pittsburgh Penguins, on the other hand, a solid beginning to the season for them. We'll see if they're able to continue that. Obviously, the big news for them is the Matt Murray injury for the Pittsburgh Penguins, going to be out at least indefinitely. We'll see how they're going to be able to plug the hole. Casey DeSmith's probably the most the option you would think they would go with. He's had plenty of starting time with the Pittsburgh Penguins in the past. Capable guy, but again, is he a guy that's going to be able to ride with this job, the number one starting goalie job for the Pittsburgh Penguins with Murray out? So I'm not so sure. This is a game that's going to be a pass for me. I mean, I took a shot with the Golden Knights last night just because, they're off a loss. They were 16-6 off a loss going into that game last night. Facing the Capitals in Stanley Cup Finals revenge mode, and Washington was just a flat-out better hockey team. No beefs whatsoever losing that wager. Washington was the better hockey team last night, and Vegas definitely has some issues to correct. So we'll see if they're able to do that here tonight, and it is going to be a pass for me on that game. No side or total yet. We'll move on to Columbus taking on Florida. Next one, we've got Columbus about -120, or Florida rather, -125, home favorite in this game. Total right now 5.5. If 5.5s, we don't see them as much these days, so enjoy seeing the 5.5s on the board when you do. But 5.5, some 6s as well for this hockey game between the Jackets and the Panthers. Panthers, a lot of us like this Panthers team to be a dangerous team, a little bit of a sleeper, maybe be that team that from the middle tier of teams in the Eastern Conference next year, be able to move up and do some things and maybe compete, with some of the bigger boys in the Eastern Conference. Remains to be seen. I think a lot of it for the Panthers is going to go toward Reimer and Luongo in net. I mean, these are Luongo's getting older. James Reimer's
right now.
No Luongo right now, exactly. James Reimer, a guy that's going to have to basically hold the fort right now for this Florida Panthers team. That's going to be something you're going to have to watch for moving forward. Is he able to do that? He's been good in fits and starts, good some nights, not so good other nights, and that's basically been James Reimer's career from the onset here. Alex B. Smith, you've got a thought on this game. We're going to get to you. Jackets taking on the Panthers. I like Florida a lot, but I'm not laying this price with them in this particular game. Columbus has been, dealing with some injuries themselves right now. They did get a nice win the other night against Colorado, played very good. Very, I guess, a relief, you could say, to see Bobrovsky play well. Bobrovsky did not have a very good preseason, had a much better effort last time against the Colorado Avalanche in that victory for the Blue Jackets the other night. We'll see if Columbus can take that winning effort and duplicate it on the road here in Florida tonight against this Panthers team, which to me, I love the young talent. I mean, Dadonov and Bukestad and Huberdeau, and you go on down the list. There's a ton of players now on this Florida team up front capable of burning you offensively and putting the puck in the net and producing offensively. It's going to be a nice challenge here for Columbus, minus Seth Jones, their stalwart on the back end. We'll see how they can match up with the Florida Panthers. Let's get to Alex B. Smith, Columbus and Florida. Alex, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Columbus side here. Like I said, Florida's got a ton of talent. They're a team. I think they're going to do better than Columbus as far as the rest of the year goes. But like I said, no Luongo for Florida, who's the guy who's really been carrying this team the last year or two in net, and we've seen him go down with some injuries. James Reimer has come in and fill. He did well last year when Luongo got hurt, but he's not a guy you can, like say, completely rely on. As you look at this Columbus team, yeah, they're having some injury issues, which that's nothing new either. They've had a whole lot of cluster injuries for a while. Brandon Dubinsky also out now for they're saying 4 to 5 weeks. So that could be a big loss. But you look at Sergei Bobrovsky, like I said, coming off of a nice effort in the last game. His record against Florida is absolutely stellar, 12-1-2 with a 1.87 goals against and a 9.43 save percentage. So clearly he has no trouble facing this Panther team throughout his career. And like I said, got to use SBRodds.com because we're seeing some line moves that I can't recall seeing line moves like this in different line swings shop to shop. Like I said, this total, you've seen a lot of 5.5s, a lot of 6s. The prices come down. We've seen money come in on Columbus. It was a plus $1.15, $1.20 earlier yesterday. Now you're seeing a lot of 105s, 110. So got to shop around. That's very important. I'm on Columbus here. I'm glad I got the plus 115 because that's not going to be around much longer, if at all. I think we might see some more money swing that. It could even be an even money before puck drop.
All right, very good. Columbus for Alex B. Smith here in this game as they take on the Florida Panthers. Interesting to see how that one goes. Florida Panthers, I'll tell you what, when you look at they've only played one game, and we were talking about this. It's been a weird schedule. You had Washington play a back-to-back last week, and then they were off from last Thursday to next Wednesday. Could you get a clue here, you schedule makers in the NHL? What are you doing to these teams early in the season with 5-day layoffs? Come on.
I noticed that too.
Yeah, allow them to get.
It's happened to a couple teams this year. It's really weird.
Yeah, allow them to get in rhythm is what I say. I mean, it's early in the season. I think that's the worst thing you could do to a hockey team is give them a 5-day layoff when they're just trying to get in, playing rhythm, playing shape, get used to the grind of playing every couple of days during the season, and of course, playing every couple of days for what is, arguably, I would say the most intense, the most physically demanding sport there is, and to me. To have these teams play 2 games like that and then have a 5-day layoff, it just boggles the mind to me. Florida, by the way, if you're going to look, and Adam in the chat from across the pond, Adam Booth from across the pond, he's watching us in the UK, although I believe he's Canadian originally, so good to have him. He mentioned a good point in the chat about Tampa, or Florida rather. They outplayed Tampa in that first game. Lost in a shootout. They were the better team that night, but Vasilevsky's going to do that to you some nights and just be absolutely sensational and ended up preserving a shootout win for the Tampa Bay Lightning, but nothing to be hang your head about if you're the Florida Panthers. A good enough effort to win that hockey game, but good goaltending ended up really coming back to get you in the end. Next up, we've got Colorado, Buffalo, Avalanche, and Sabres. We've got the Avs, a slim road favorite in this game, minus 115 or so, minus 120 in some spots. The total 6 shaded to the under across the board here in this game. Buffalo Sabres winning their last game against the Vegas Golden Knights, the aforementioned struggling Golden Knights, a 4-2 win for the Sabres in that game. I do think the Sabres are a little bit of an improved hockey team. I mean, you look at them, a nice 2-1 start, beat the Rangers, beat Vegas. I've no problem giving them a pass for losing to Boston in that first game because Boston was ornery that night. Remember, that was when they were coming off that 7-0 drubbing at the hands of the Washington Capitals, and Buffalo was sort of walking into a hornet's nest against a PO'd team, and that's exactly what ended up happening. But Buffalo's got some bright young talent. We know Rasmus Dahlin. I'm telling you, I'm already impressed by this kid. He doesn't look like the NHL stage is too big for him. He doesn't look like he's in awe of it. It's been impressive to see. I think the piece that they got from the Blues, Tage Thompson, and the Ryan O'Reilly trade from the St. Louis Blues is going to be a guy that's going to chip in offensively for them. You definitely like what you're seeing from this team up front. It's going to be really about blue line, and can Carter Hutton really prove his worth as a number one goalie? He's done so at times. There have been the odd shaky game here for him, but I think he's actually been more good than bad. Going back to last season in St. Louis, I really believe that. He's starting to make a believer out of me. I think he's still got a ways to go, but I'm encouraged by Carter Hutton's performance so far early on this season, to the point where I was thinking, is Buffalo really going to be able to have this guy be their number one netminder for the duration of the season and have it be successful? Well, I'm opening the door now for Carter Hutton to prove me right there that he can absolutely do that. And so far, I like what I've seen out of him in net for the Buffalo Sabres. Colorado off the loss against Columbus the other night. They were worried they may not be without Landeskog in that game, but he did play. But they still fell short against the Columbus Blue Jackets. This is a game where Buffalo has played well. I mean, like I say, they're 2-1. They're at home. They're a slight home underdog here. Colorado off a loss, but Colorado on the road last year was, a little hit or miss. I'm going to take Buffalo here. The plus I think I can get plus 100 on them right now at the Greek. Yes, I can. I think at the home dog price, it's worth a look here toward the Buffalo Sabres. Good effort. Remember, things seem to be splintering a little bit with this team last year. I don't think Phil Housley was fully comfortable too, first year as a head coach, but they look like they're much more entrenched with the systems. They're much more aware. It looks like they have a better understanding of what's going on, what the coaches expect of them. And I like the way they've played for the most part so far in 3 games, this Buffalo Sabres team. And they're getting the solid goaltending, at least for now, from Carter Hutton. So I'm going to look toward the Sabres side here, plus 100 in this game as they take on the Colorado Avalanche. We've got Washington, New Jersey next up on the rotation. No line here. Capitals, of course, another part of that duo that had the back-to-back games last night as they took to care of business against the Vegas Golden Knights. A solid win there for the Washington Capitals. Washington's just, I've got to admit, I'm impressed with their offense so far. I mean, I think with Barry Trotz gone and Todd Reirden now, the head coach of this Washington Capitals team, they're not that they've forgotten defense or all of a sudden, but I think they're even trying to go faster, push the pace harder. I'm noticing that with Washington. Barry Trotz was sort of, let's reserve back a little bit, play a little bit more defensively, but he's letting the horses out of the stable here. Todd Reirden, he's letting the guys go. Ovechkin, Kuznets, all the big guns have shown up. There has been no Stanley Cup hangover for the big guns on this Washington Capitals team. Kuznetsov off to a great start. Ovechkin off to a great start. TJ Oshie off to a great start. They're all chipping in offensively, which is good to see. New Jersey, on the other hand, here's another team that's sort of been robbed by the schedule makers, in my opinion. They had to start the season overseas. That's never an easy thing. They won that game in Switzerland over the weekend against the Edmonton Oilers. This is a tricky spot. This is a bad spot, I think, for both teams, because you got Washington back-to-back here. Again, this is weird. Back-to-back for Washington. You're off for 5 days, and now you're playing back-to-back here. Absolutely insane what the schedule has done. But New Jersey, much like we're going to talk about with Edmonton later on when they play Boston later on this card, I'm concerned. You got to adjust your body clock. You're coming back from Europe. You're playing that first game now back here in North America. There could be a little bit of an adjustment. I'm not saying that New Jersey and Edmonton are automatic to lose tonight, but I'm a little concerned for the spot coming back from overseas and playing in Europe and being in Europe for as long as they've been. Now, they have had a few days. That's the good news. I mean, I think Saturday was the game, and I think Sunday they left Switzerland. So they've had some time to adjust. You're just never quite sure you're going to get that sharp, crisp performance when you have to make that kind of adjustment physically and mentally when you're coming back from a trip over there in Europe. So for that reason, I'm going to pass on this game, but keep an eye on New Jersey. I think they're going to be a decent team. I know Alex B. Smith concurs because he gave out New Jersey over their point total, over their win total in our preview show. New Jersey's got a potential to be in the mix here in this Eastern Conference, at least be a playoff team. And I think a lot of it is going to be, can Taylor Hall have anything close to the kind of season he had last year. I don't know if he can duplicate what he did last year because he was sensational, but if he comes close to doing that, it's going to give New Jersey a chance, and it's really going to rest on the shoulders of Corey Schneider for bouncing back. I know Keith Kincaid is a reliable, solid second option, but I think in a perfect world, John Hines would tell you, the head coach, we need Corey Schneider to be better this season if we're going to entertain any serious thoughts about contending and maybe making noise in the postseason. We'll see if he's able to have that kind of bounce back performance in net this season for the Devils. We've got the San Jose Sharks, New York Rangers now. Next up, 9-10 on the rotation. San Jose minus 160 on the road. The total 6 pretty much across the board in this hockey game. San Jose exploded. How about that for a response after getting shut out by the New York Islanders 4-0? They end up just absolutely demolishing the Philadelphia Flyers in the very next game. Very impressive performance from the San Jose Sharks, just steamrolling the Philadelphia Flyers, and the Flyers home opener, no less. I wonder what Gritty had to say about that. We haven't seen enough Gritty these first few weeks, and I wonder what he had to think about that. That's why you don't show that video on Twitter and post it with him just, crushing all the Sharks in that department store there and then pouncing on them. See, you riled up San Jose, and look how they responded. They absolutely took you to the woodshed in that game on Tuesday night. So San Jose got back on track. Now you're playing the New York Rangers here. They should take care of business. I'm not in love with laying the price on the road. But yeah, I'm not trusting the New York Rangers to beat good hockey teams right now. I mean, they're just not going to do that very often in my mind. Lost to Nashville, lost to Buffalo even over the weekend. Where's the depth of scoring for this team? I'm really concerned about that. This blue line got much, much worse last season. A lot of young faces back there, and I'm just not sure that defense is a shutdown group, and you're going to be facing quite a few options here that can put the puck in the net for the San Jose Sharks up front. I know even without Thornton, they still got that offensive proficiency. If you're the Rangers, for crying out loud, for the love of God, stay out of the penalty box, because your ability to shut down the San Jose power play, I think, is going to be tested big time if you take too many penalties tonight. And I'm not sure I trust them to do that here in this game. So for me, lean to the over, but I just don't know if the Rangers are going to chip in offensively here against this Sharks team who, to me, defensively, it hasn't shown yet. This is not a team that hasn't played the greatest defensively yet, but give them time with a Erik Karlsson and a Brent Burns and a Marc-Edouard Vlasic patrolling that blue line. It's only a matter of time before they start playing better on that side of the puck. Yes, finally one of my ice guys is involved in one of the games here, so I can get a sip of coffee in here. Jimmy Murphy's involved with the San Jose Sharks taking on the New York Rangers. Jimmy, what do you like here in this game?
I think the Sharks are going to just eat the Rangers up. They're going to just chomp them all night. Look, the Rangers are in rebuild. We know that. I think they're going to be at times a pesky group to deal with and a hard team to play against at times. I think David Quinn is you're not going to really see it because the Rangers are going to suck so bad this year, but he's one of the most underrated coaches of new coaches coming into the NHL. I think in 2 to 3 years, we're really going to be talking about him a lot. That being said, we're in the present right now, and the San Jose Sharks, I think, got their wake-up call against the Islanders. I really do. I think, they said, whoa, what's going on here? We've been kind of lackadaisical the first few games, and they came out and showed it against Philly. Excuse me. And I just see them going in right now. I could see a 5-0 game from the Sharks tonight. So I really like the Sharks puck line tonight in New York.
All right, Sharks puck line. Yeah, no argument there. I think it's Rangers potentially up against it as they take on this San Jose Sharks team. Andrew McGinnis, we'll just get a quick word from him since he's joined the show, ready to talk some NHL. Andrew, how are you this morning? Good to have you with us.
Yeah, doing pretty good. It's better late than never, I guess you can say, Ian. So it's definitely good to be here. Unfortunately, the good news is that the games I have to talk about are actually you haven't spoken about yet. So
that's right.
Get to those in a few minutes here, and it's good to see you guys. Good to be here, and pretty big slate here, guys. I mean, the past couple of days hasn't been the biggest slates of hockey games, and as we all know, Thursday nights are always big nights in hockey world. So pumped for tonight, guys.
Absolutely. This is a great card. It's a loaded card. It's going to be wall-to-wall, flip to this game, flip to that game, flip to that game. It's just going to be ice surfing you can't surf on the ice. Don't try that, folks, in real life. But you get my point. Yeah, it's going to be checking a bunch, as many games as possible tonight, including this one. Oilers taking on the Bruins in Boston.
That, guys.
And Ian, well, actually, you know what? Before we even get to the game, because I just want to say this because this is just kind of a funny thing with the group, and I wish Dana was here for this, but the fact that I decided to be the lone wolf and go against you guys with that under in the Leafs game. How many goals were there, guys? Honestly, how many goals were there? I mean, it's one of those.
I was thinking of you, buddy. I was thinking.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's one of those things where I looked at it, Jimmy, and I said, this has to be one of them for the Leafs. And now it's one of those things for me, Jimmy, where if I don't see an 8.5, I'm not pulling it. I'm figuring with it.
That's right. It's almost.
Go ahead.
No, it's like you need an 8.5 or 9.5 to even consider an under. And even then, I'm scared to death and biting my fingernails watching that Leafs team play. It's amazing. Their ability to it's like they pop goals in the net like you pop pest.
But they like goals in the net too, and that's the key right there that you got to remember is that they're almost letting in as many goals as they have put in. I think 20 goals in and 17 goals in their own net. So. That's another reason to consider that over as well, is that they've just been atrocious in their own end.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about that. They haven't been good in their own zone, and they've obviously they're as lethal and potent a hockey team as I've seen in quite some time. They're reminiscent of the early days of Crosby and Malkin together in Pittsburgh when they were lighting it up.
I'll go back to the Oilers, guys. I'll go back to Edmonton in the '80s. I'm showing my age here a little, but I mean. I watched those teams, and they would just come into buildings and light it up like that, except they had Grant Fuhr, and I think as the year goes on, guys, that's a team to watch in terms of wins and losses. Maybe they'll keep the over going, but in terms of wins and losses, it's going to catch up to them. We know how the second half of the year is a lot different than the first, and playoff hockey starts to creep in, and that's not playoff hockey. So they're going to have to figure something out on defense if they want to go far.
Yeah, absolutely. No question about that. Next up, we've got the Oilers and Bruins in Boston. We've got Boston minus 165 as home favorites. The total 6 shaded to the under in this hockey game going into it. When you look at the Edmonton Oilers, this is like with New Jersey, a little bit of a dubious spot. It's your first game back from Europe in Switzerland. You only played that one game. It was a loss to the New Jersey Devils. Now you got to play in Boston. First game in North America. There's going to be an adjustment again with your body clock having to get back into the swing of things back close to home. We'll see if the Oilers can make that adjustment. Look, the Oilers, to me, the same problem is going to hurt them, I think, this season. I think they are going to be a little bit better. But again, last year offensively, far too reliant on the big three. You know who I'm talking about: McDavid, Nuge, and Draisaitl. If you shut down those 3 guys and dared one of these other forwards on the Oilers to beat you, they were not getting that supplementary secondary scoring hardly at all last season. And I think that's going to be something you're concerned about. Look, they only had 19 shots on goal in 3 periods in the 5-2 loss to New Jersey over the weekend. This is a team that should be generating far more opportunities, far more territorial play, far more attack zone time, far more shots, far more chances than they have. Not only last year, but in that first game. And for some reason, we talk about how the Oilers, the last couple of seasons, specifically last year when it was such a down year for them, have been suspect defensively. Cam Talbot had a season that he couldn't live up to 2 years ago when he was sensational. Yeah, but not enough people talk about the lack of punch from the third line and the fourth line, and even a couple guys on the second line on this Edmonton Oilers team. That really doomed them as much as anything a season ago, and that's something that they're going to have to really work at correcting. I know McDavid is great, so is Nugent Hopkins, so is Draisaitl. They're phenomenal players, great talents, great vision, great playmaking ability, great skill, great the great finishing ability. But at some point, you got to get other players involved and engaged offensively, and that's going to be a must, I think, this season for the Edmonton Oilers if they're going to have some kind of turnaround here. The Boston Bruins now, after a really rough and rude and unkind welcome to the season by the Stanley Cup champion Washington Capitals, they've pretty much turned it around since then. They played better hockey and taken care of business. Nice win against Ottawa on that early start Monday game in their last one. Tuukka Rask, as Jimmy's referenced before, still a little worry, still causing a little strain for Bruin fans locally. This is a game I'm not involved in either way, side or total. If I trusted Edmonton's offense more, I'd go over the total, but I don't right now, to be honest with you. So I'm going to stay completely out of this game. This is a Bruins game, and I know Jimmy didn't list this particular game on his list of games, but like Alex B. Smith, we always get his take on Chicago. It's his team. It's where he's originally from, even though he's now living in Minnesota. We always get Alex's take on Chicago Blackhawk games. We're going to get Jimmy's take every time the Bruins play this season, because he's in the trenches when it comes to the Boston Bruins, follows them every day, is around them. And just keeps as close an eye on the Boston Bruins as anybody, probably. Jimmy, with Boston tonight, how do you think they look against Edmonton?
Guys, this is an interesting game, right? I mean, look, another mistake I think the NHL did was having Connor McDavid play his first game of the season over in Europe. I didn't get that. He should be front and center here in the States, in prime time, and in Canada, obviously. So I think that was a huge mistake by the NHL, and he comes back here now, and I think this is his chance to kind of say to the rest of the league, hey, guys, I'm here. Get ready. Here I come. And so I don't like this one for the Bruins right now. I like McDavid coming in and potentially lighting it up against the Bruins. I also like rejuvenated and motivated Milan Lucic in this one as well. This guy obviously had a lot of history in Boston, didn't end the way he wanted it here. He's had some rough years in Edmonton, but by all accounts, he's really focused and determined this season. He lost some weight. He's trying to be a little faster, trying to work on the speed there. And like you said, Tuukka's kind of been up and down for the Bruins so far. I think this could be a down night. I do sense an Edmonton Oilers win. I think it'll be, I'll say like 5-3 Edmonton.
All right, 5. Oh, there you go. 5-3 Edmonton. You never know. Boston's had those they have. You're right, and you know this, Jimmy. They've had those nights where what the hell's going on here?
Yeah,
at home to this team.
Yeah, and they usually take a while in October. Boston is just one of these teams in the last couple of years in October. Takes a while to find themselves, and I see that happening again this October.
All right, so keep an eye on that. We'll remember that next time Jimmy's on the show. If the Oilers win, we're going to mention that. He thought the Oilers might be alive.
Bruins fans are not happy at me, but hey, yeah, I tell it like I see it.
Exactly. You're not there to make friends. You're there to call it like you see it. You're there to count on your opinion on the team on a daily basis. And if your opinion is, hey, they could be in for a battle tonight against the Edmonton Oilers, then they could be in for a battle tonight. So very fascinating take. We'll see how that game goes. Andrew McGinnis, this is on his card. Oilers taking on the Bruins. Andrew, how do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, Nick, you know what? I'm going to completely agree with what Jimmy said. I think it's a terrible scheduling idea the NHL put out, especially for this Oilers team, especially for Connor McDavid. I watched a little news piece on it last night on SportsCenter, and you see, in October 16th, they're playing Winnipeg, the 18th, Boston, the 20th, Nashville, 23rd, Pittsburgh, 25th, Washington, 27th, Nashville. I mean, they have a very tough start to the season, guys. I mean, they're that list goes on. That list does not get any better. It does not get better, guys. And so this game here against Boston is honestly, whether, you're going to call me crazy or not, it's actually potentially a big game, a decent game that actually matters for this team. Not even just standings wise, but kind of just proving to the league what kind of team they are. Because like I said, that list is a strong list that, includes Nashville a couple times, Pittsburgh, Winnipeg, teams like that. Washington, of course, the defending Stanley Cup champions, a team you want to be able to take care of. And, after that first opening loss to New Jersey over in Europe, they want to have a good start here. And, I kind of have to agree with what Jimmy said. This is a good spot here for Edmonton. Guys, they're opening their season on a road trip where I believe it said that there's four days difference between every game they're going to play on the road trip. So a 4-day break between every single game on the road trip.
Wow.
That seems like quite a big break. So you want to get off on a good start is what I'm trying to say. And I think that, we've all mentioned that the biggest issue is that we want to get more guys involved besides, your typical Nugent Hopkins and McDavid and guys like that, even Draisaitl. So I told you guys, I was impressed with what I saw from Ty Ratty, and I think that, Strome will have a lot better of a year. And I really do think that, Lucic is kind of going to step into a better offensive role. So I think overall this team will produce more offensively, but again, it won't be just McDavid, it won't be just those top guys. It will be spread across the depth chart. Now, as far as goaltending goes, guys, I said this, I'm not liking Cam Talbot right now, and whether or not it's just the defense hanging him out to dry or whatever it is, certain things just make me not like him. I think it's second chance opportunities that he gives up, or just weak rebounds, catching himself over high glove, just stuff like that is kind of worrisome for me. And with the talent with Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak, those guys with the Bruins will make him pay on that. So for me, I'm going to kind of stay out of the money line on this one and just go over the 6. I think this one will be an exciting game. We'll get off to a good start. I saw Alex B. Smith put it in the chat there. It'd be a good one for the over in the first period. That's a solid play. That's a solid play. Yep. Because Edmonton, starting the season off, their last games in Europe, they're going to be rested. They're going to be excited. So whether or not that means errors, whether or not that means turnovers, or it means good opportunities for them and heavy focus, I think that would be a good play there. So good look there, Alex. And so I would go over in the first period and the full game.
All right, over first period, over full game. So some buy-in, maybe buy low on the Edmonton offense, that they can get things going here and get some of that secondary offense to kick in. Yeah, those are the guys I'm looking at. I'm looking at Ratty. I'm looking at Strome. I'm looking at Kaylor Yamamoto, who I keep hearing is this prospect that's going to make a big impact. I'm still waiting on it. Let's see. Let's go, guys. Let's go. Connor McDavid can't carry this team on his freaking back every night. Let's go. Let's get some offense from some guys that
and how about some offense from the back end too?
Consistently. Yep.
The back end too, guys. I mean, like, where are these defensemen? I mean, we hear about they're going to generate more offense from the back end there. They're going to have a better power. These guys got to step up too. And I think if not, Peter Chiarelli's going to really have to evaluate that defense and maybe look at some deals early on here in the season if they can't step it up.
Yeah, and it's some bounce back years they need too. Adam Larson didn't really perform up to the expectations you thought, considering you gave up a Taylor frickin' Hall to get that guy. At times you haven't really seen that return on investment now, have you?
He might have done something like that here. I don't know. I can't think of what it was in Boston he did too.
I like Darnell Nurse's game.
He traded the number 2 pick in that draft here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Chiarelli's had some head scratchers, done a lot of good things, but he's largely responsible too for the cup that Boston got. But he's also made some head scratchers. Didn't end well for him there, and it's sort of starting to veer off the tracks a little bit now in Edmonton. But I like Darnell Nurse's game. Chris Russell's just this guy would stand in front of a Mack truck on the highway. He will just block any shot that comes his way, sacrifices his body consistently on that back end. Believe it or not, I thought Clefbaum was probably their best defenseman last year. I really liked his game. He continues to be good. There's some bright lights, but they need Larson to play good. Garrison's sort of getting long in the tooth. He had a nice couple of years there, Florida, Vancouver, but not quite the same for him. And, of course, you're going to have to hope Talbot plays well in net. So there's a lot of ifs. Bottom line with this Edmonton team. See if they can get it done tonight as a big road dog in Beantown. Vancouver, Tampa Bay. We've got Tampa Bay minus 270, 280. Big favorite, as you would expect. The total 6.5 pretty much across the board. Oh, there is a 6 out there still at Jazz. 6 over minus 130. And that's good news for me because I'm on the over in this game. Canucks taking on the Lightning. Look, Vancouver to me is just, I wasn't sure what to expect from them coming into this season, totals-wise. But boy, their offense impresses me. Their forwards have impressed me. They're generating. They're getting some goals. They've got Goldobin and Pedersen and Besser, but Besser really hasn't even gotten going yet. Wait till he gets going for this Vancouver team. And they don't mind pushing the pace here. But their defense is horrendous. And we're seeing that through all 3 games so far. Not a great blue line. Goodbranson is slow as molasses. I know he's a physical presence, but Goodbranson's not a great. There's not a lot of great fluid skaters. There's not a lot of great puck movers on this Vancouver back end. And then you've got just a calamity in net. Jacob Markstrom's not number 1 goalie material. He never really has been. And you got Anders Nilsson behind him. So this is a night. I know Tampa Bay, it was 2-1 Tampa, Florida. That makes you think, geez, this is a high total. It might be for Tampa. It's definitely not for Vancouver. And I think Tampa's offense, okay, it's only 2 goals the other night. This is the night they explode. Actually, I noticed last year, Tampa scores 3 goals or less in a game. They usually have an explosion the next game. I think you're going to see that tonight. So I'm going to go over 6. Minus 130 at Jazz is the best number out there offshore. Over 6 with Vancouver. Taking on Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay probably can get 4 or 5 all by themselves here. It's just a question of can Vancouver pop in 1 or 2, help you over the total. I think they can. here in this game. I've liked what I've seen from the Canucks and their young group of forwards. So I'm going to go over in that game. Toronto, Detroit, speaking of overs, are we going over again with this Toronto team? Holy mackerel.
Yeah, let's
Toronto
go.
minus 175, minus 180 on the road, total 6.5. I'm absolutely going to go over the total. I was a best bet winner the other night, Dallas, Toronto, over 6.5. So was Toronto, Ottawa over the total on Saturday. Toronto overs have made my season so far from an NHL Ice Guys show best bet perspective. I've just been riding the Toronto overs 2 straight shows, and I'm going to be on over 6.5 again here. Again, Toronto every single night has the capability of approaching or exceeding totals like this all by themselves because of that potent offense. Their power play is incredible to watch. The players, there's no stationary players. They're always moving. The puck is always humming back and forth to the middle. They can't let the defensemen or the shot blockers get in the lane because the puck is always moving, quick passing. The players are never stationary. They're always moving. That's how you have a great power play. It's not just that they have the talent to score goals on it, and an abundance of it when you think of Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews and John Tavares, and that's to say nothing of Nazem Kadri, who's a third-line center on this team and is coming off the best offensive season of his career. It's just way too many weapons on this team. Detroit, stay out as another team where you got to just, if you're Jeff Blashill, you just scream from the heavens above, stay out of the damn box tonight, you guys, or else we could run out of this game here tonight. So that's going to be the concern for Detroit. It's a tricky spot because they were out on the West Coast. Real tough loss against Anaheim in the final game of that trip. Now you're back home. First game home off that little mini trip. Now you got to play this lethal Toronto team, and Detroit's not the offense we've seen so far. That's my one concern. Like, is Detroit going to help us out with this game over the total? Because their offense has been very, very lackluster so far, and I think I'm being kind. But we've seen Toronto give up chances. We've seen Toronto give up goals so far. Maybe this is a night for Detroit to finally have some of their youth and talent hit the score sheet a little bit and get this offensive drought out of their system. So I'm going to go over 6.5 here. Again, the Detroit side of this offensive equation does concern me a little bit, but I think Toronto's good for 5 or 6. You just need 1 or 2 out of Detroit, and I think they're capable of getting that here in this game. So I'm going to go over the 6.5. Let's get to Alex B. Smith, Leafs and Red Wings on his card tonight. Alex, what do you like?
I'm actually looking at Toronto on the puck line here. And I know that's a bit risky because, like we talked about earlier, Toronto, for as many goals as they're putting in themselves, they're letting a bunch of them back. But this Detroit offense, like I said, it's a team that you can't really rely on them to put 3-4 goals in on a given night. And like I said, the fact that they're shooting themselves in the foot with a bunch of penalties, he said, you give this Leafs power play a bunch of chances, they're going to eat you alive. And this game could get completely out of hand. So obviously the over does make sense, even with 6.5. Like I was mentioning in the chat box, you can't be afraid of the 6.5 now. This is the new normal. 6s and 6.5. So we're going to see for quite some time until we get that regression, which I don't know when we're going to see that exactly. So the over something I would be looking at too. But Toronto puck line, we're getting a good price here. Plus 175, plus 180. I think Toronto could win this one by a score of 7-4. That's not shocking to me at all. So I like them to at least win by 2.
All right, puck line for Toronto, for Alex B. Smith, puck line on the Leafs, I should say. Jimmy Murphy, Toronto, Detroit for you. What do you like?
You know what? I'm right with Alex on this. I like the puck line there as well. I just see a blowout in this one. You mentioned that Detroit's coming back from that West Coast trip, and credit to them. Like you said, they actually, ironically, I thought they played better in that 4-2 loss to LA than they did the next night in Anaheim in the shootout loss. I just really felt like they deserved a win there. But Jack Campbell in his first NHL start stole the show against them. I just see them emotionally and physically depleted coming home here. I never like a team at home after being out west in that first game back. And then you factor in just the potent offense with the Leafs here. I like the puck line with the Leafs, and I also like the over.
All right, puck line and over. Andrew McGinnis, Toronto, Detroit. Is it wash, rinse, repeat? You on the same 2 things or one of them?
Yeah, it's nice to have a consensus on the show for sure. No, guys, that's the funny thing about this Detroit Red Wings team, because like Jimmy said, I personally believe, and to be honest with you guys, I had them for my first kind of big plus money underdog where they lost in the shootout there to Anaheim. But I thought they had back-to-back good performances there. I thought Detroit hasn't looked that bad. I mean, they've looked like a solid team that's actually has a lot more depth than people thought they did. A few lines that can run. So having said that, though, guys, I think, just based off what you guys have talked about, the comparison between the 2 lineups, I mean, you can say this about the Leafs when they're playing anybody, guys. I mean, looking at line to line, facing off. I mean, you look at the talent level. But I mean, I'm going to eat my words here, guys. I mean, I'm not taking another Leafs under for another, 5 months because I took one shot with that under 6.5 and it burnt me. But I think this one will go over the total. I think you can count on the Red Wings for a couple goals. But more importantly, guys, either way, I would have taken this puck line with the Leafs. But the fact that we're getting somewhere in the ballpark of plus 170 at 5 dimes, that's far too much value for me to stay off that one. For the Leafs to win by just 2 goals. So I'll go with the puck line with my stronger lead on that one. But of course, can't discount the over. But I definitely, guys, the reason why I'm stronger on the puck line is like Ian said, I could see, a 4-1 game. I could see Detroit getting shut out. It's up to the Detroit because I know Leafs are going to put up some numbers. It's up to Detroit to see what they can do against this Leafs team.
All right, very good. Detroit, by the way, and this is what's scary for Detroit, they're still banged up on the blue line. I mean, all season long, they've had veterans like Mike Green out, Jonathan Ericsson out, Nicholas Kronwall was out. Nicholas Kronwall will be back, by the way, for this game tonight for the Red Wings, but it's still a very young blue line with Philip Ronick, Joe Hicketts, Libor Shulak, Nick Jensen's a very young group back there. They're going to have a tough time holding down this lethal Toronto team tonight with such a youth movement going on the blue line right now. LA, Montreal, we've got Montreal minus 120, minus 125, total 5.5 shaded to the over. Holy mackerel, what is it? 9:45 already. All right, we'll have to pick up the pace. I got nothing on this game, so I'm going to stay out of it. Lean Montreal just because they've impressed me so far. They really have, but it's a pass for me. Let's get to Jimmy Murphy. Kings and Habs. Jimmy, what do you like?
I love the Habs in this one right now. The Habs, I think, are quietly creating a sort of, I don't want to say Cinderella is kind of too strong a word, but a happy story. Let's put it that way, because times were not happy in Montreal. If you can recall, only a few weeks ago before this season started, I mean, the fan base there was up and just couldn't handle what Mark Bergevin had done. And now all of a sudden they come out, they've got this sort of fun team. They play attack hockey, which is unlike, Claude Julien teams of the past. And they're just really letting the young kids go, and they're fun to watch, and they're playing with a rejuvenated sense of optimism there. And Carey Price looks to be back. So the Kings a little road weary here. I'll take the Montreal Canadiens in this one in their home opener, where they'll be celebrating the anniversary of the I think it's 25th anniversary of the Kings Cup win. I mean the Canadiens Cup win over the Kings.
There you go. Exactly. A great moment. They have the best ceremonies, Jimmy, in hockey.
Oh, I covered hockey up there for 2 years, guys, and it's such an amazing environment. And by the way, definitely, I don't know what the over-under is on stick measurements in this game. I don't know if I'm showing my age here, but if we go back, we'll see if we can get a prop on that. All right.
I'll tell you what, they got away with murder, the LA Kings, in that run to the Stanley Cup final. There was a stick measurement. They got away with that high stick on Gilmore in the Toronto series in overtime. That should have been.
It came back to bite him.
Carey Fraser hasn't lived it. Yeah, Carey Fraser has not lived that down from Leaf fans. Who still just despise the man from that very day.
And is Marty McSorley going to be there tonight? I don't know.
Exactly. He's been in broadcasting the last few years, Marty. Yeah. So he kept busy the last few years doing a bunch of things. This is also on Andrew's card. Of course, it's his Habs. We've got to get a thought from him. Kings and Habs, Andrew. What do you like?
Yeah, I wish I knew what you guys are referencing there, but I guess
go do some research.
They're just flying over my head.
It's called hockey history, Andrew. Look it up.
Come on, buddy. You're a Habs fan. You got to know this stuff.
Yeah.
It's the last Cup team.
But you know what, guys? It's music to my ears hearing Jimmy say that stuff. It's music to my ears hearing them say almost said a Cinderella story. I mean, that's just great sounding. But I think what's great about this Montreal team that's been, completely underrated throughout even just past couple of years is that, as much as they don't have a lot of all-stars guys, they don't have a lot of, that one guy that's that top guy you can count on night in, night out. It's almost going to work for in a beneficiary way this year for the Habs because there's no real pressure on that one guy. I mean, I think sometimes Jonathan Drouin tries to do too much, but other than that, I mean, you've got 3 lines that can run. Of course, Kokaniemi is actually looking pretty solid. He's really settled into the zone. I feel like he does a lot of the small things right. Gallagher's looked more like an offensive guy this year. He's usually just like, your speedy guy that can create chances, but the skill is there for him, but it's not been what it looks like so far this year. Of course, guys like Philip Deneau, who's actually a guy that I think we can actually take seriously this year and count on. Thomas Tatar is a guy that's still settling in, but I think he will have potential. And, of course, Max Domi and Paul Byron. Got to credit those guys. They've honestly, in my eyes, been leading the charge. They've looked great. And I think as far as the LA Kings go, I think they've tried to shape their team into being a faster pace, faster style game, style identity team. So having said that, I'm going to look over the total in this one at 5.5 again. I'm leaning. I have the Habs money line, guys, but the Habs always have trouble for some reason with Western Conference teams getting off to a good start, dealing with their pace. I know they're playing at home tonight, but I just feel like this one could get off to a really messy, really fast start, and it just could be a high-scoring affair. So my eyes go with the Habs and go with the over in this one as well.
All right, over with the Habs. I'll tell you what, the Habs defensively have impressed me. Carey Price has impressed me. They completely neutralized Pittsburgh over the weekend.
Yeah.
And when you look back on it, they hold Toronto to 3 goals. That's a victory now for most teams. With what
they deserve to win that game. I thought they
Exactly.
deserved to win that game against the Leafs.
Yeah, they did. They played fantastic. Outplayed the Leafs for extended stretches. So defensively, they've actually really, really impressed me so far, Montreal. Can they keep it up is the question. But let's be honest, playing LA is going to look like playing a team in slow motion compared to Pittsburgh and Toronto from an offensive perspective. So we'll see how Montreal makes with that. Here's a great game, a playoff rematch, Winnipeg, Nashville. We had one last night. We got another one tonight. Great game, great rivalry developing with these teams now. Nothing helps the rivalry like a good old playoff series between them. -130 for Nashville at home, total 6. Not really much of an opinion here. I took my shot with the Jets on the puck line the other night. I deserved a winner there. They only won 2-1, but completely dominated the Kings. Good spot off a loss at home. But they're walking into it here. This is a circled game on Nashville's calendar. Nashville's were they looking ahead to this game? They were dopey. They were lethargic. They were awful against Calgary the other night in a shutout loss at home to the Flames. We'll see how they fare here. But a little lean to Nashville, but I'm going to stay out of this one. Let's get to Jimmy. Nashville and Winnipeg, Jimmy.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I love that we got a playoff rematch here. We had one last night, obviously, with the Stanley Cup final rematch, and it went just like the Stanley Cup final did. But I see this going a little different, guys. I think Nashville came back from their opening road trip really flat already. And like I said, I never like teams coming back from a trip in their first home game back. But then you add on top of it, what in God's – are they going to hang a banner for everything in Nashville? I mean, what was that about? They hung a banner for the regular season Western Conference champion. Yeah, this is getting disgusting. I mean, come on. I mean, I know those fans don't have much in terms of titles and banners down in Nashville. I get it. You're trying to pay homage to them, but that was overdone and that was disgusting. It's no surprise. I wish I had known they were going to do that, and I would have put in another bet on the Flames in that one, because they just said there was no way Nashville was going to win that. It was just dragged out, and energy was dragged. Once the game started, it was just so anticlimactic. So that's out of the way. The Predators now, I think, are like, look, let's get down to business here. And I see them having a big game. I like a big game from PK Subban. He seizes the moment when it's a highlight game, a focus game like this. So I like the Nashville Predators to, he won't say exact revenge, but get a little sense of revenge beating the Winnipeg Jets.
All right, Nashville -130 for Jimmy in this game. Alex B. Smith, Jets, Preds.
Yeah, you guys nailed it right on the head with the Nashville regular season Western Conference champ banner. It's ridiculous. I've never even heard of that. Never seen that in another arena. Maybe in the AHL or something. But I look at the under in this game. Actually, I know we've been loving the overs all day, but we got Connor Hellebuck and Pekka Rinne, two of the premier goalies in the league. I could just see this being a shutdown. Like I said, big rematch. We saw a lot of high scoring affairs between these two in the playoffs. I think we're going to see defense take over a little bit more here. I wouldn't be shocked to see a 2-1, 3-2 game. So I'll be looking at the under 6 in that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
like
Winnipeg.
That.
Yeah, Winnipeg's can play defense now a lot better than they used to, and they've got a goalie in Hellebuck they can count on. He's played great so far this season, so definitely I'm looking at the under makes a little sense there. Calgary, St. Louis, we've got St. Louis -136 to -135, I should say, to -140 in that range. That line's just opening as we speak. The total 6 pretty much across the board here. Calgary, nice win against Nashville the other night. I said I was going to be looking for spots to back Calgary if I could see that Mike Smith could play well in net. Lo and behold, he finally played well in net. in that game against Nashville. I'm going to grab Calgary here at the plus price. I think this team, again, it's my sleeper coming into the season. I've been waiting on them a little bit. I'm going to go with them here at a nice plus price. Looks like we're going to be able to get around plus 115, plus 120 with the Flames in this game. St. Louis still a little bit out of sorts to begin the season. They've been off since they lost to Chicago in that wild game over the weekend. So definitely I'm going to look toward Calgary here in this game at the underdog price. A team that's got some confidence, that was a good road team last season. Remember, they were much better on the road than they were at the Saddle Dome last year. Gaudreau, Monahan, Tkachuk, they're all healthy. Sam Bennett, an upgraded blue line. Noah Hannafin's really fit in very well early on. And again, if we get the Mike Smith we got in Nashville, it's always a big if. You're always crossing your fingers, but I think Calgary live at this underdog price. All right, we've only got a couple of minutes left, so we'll go quickly through this last game. Chicago, Minnesota. Minnesota minus 150 in this game, total 6. Shaded pretty much even money, actually, with the total across the board. Heavy Chicago money's come in. This price has gone down a little bit. I can't argue with that. I'm not laying any kind of price like this with Minnesota right now. It's a team that's struggling. I know Chicago, maybe some people think, hey, 2-1, fool's gold start. Eventually, Chicago's going to become that struggling team. Well, they don't think they're struggling right now. They don't think they're bad right now. They're playing with gusto. They're playing with energy. At this price, it's Chicago or pass for me. And Alex B. Smith, it's the Hawks involved. Definitely, we're going to get his thoughts on this game. It's basically Alex's favorite team from his original hometown playing in the town he currently lives in here in St. Paul, Minnesota. So this game is the Alex B. Smith Bowl. Every time Chicago plays Minnesota. Alex, what do you like?
I haven't decided if I'm going yet, and the reason is that in the 5 games that I've gone to see the Hawks and Wild play at the Xcel Energy Center, Hawks have lost 4 of them. So the only win was when they swept Game 4 a few years ago in the playoffs. But that being said, I jumped all over Chicago. I didn't know why on earth the Wild were laying it when it opened 170, and even now he said 150, 155. Yes, this team plays better at home than they do on the road, but they have no reason laying this price right now. The Hawks are actually playing well. Like I said, things are in disarray with the Wild at the moment. There are plenty of tickets available, which shows you that there's going to be a lot of Hawks fans there. That's a quick 6-hour trip up here. A lot of Hawks fans living here as well. So if I don't go to the game, I'll be at Allery's, the bar nearby, watching it. But Hawks at plus 150. I'm definitely going to be riding with the Hawks tonight.
All right, Hawks is an underdog for Alex B. Smith. Yeah, right now they're scoring. You know,
they are.
Jonathan Taves has been amazing offensively. DeBrincat's been good. This Dominic Cahoon kid that's been in the lineup here for the Blackhawks, he's been impressive. They're scoring goals. They're still suspect defensively. You know, I'm still not a big Cam Ward or Anton Forsberg guy until Crawford gets back. But right now they're at least making some saves given and letting the offense do the rest. Yeah, I mean, Minnesota's got to show me more than they have so far if I'm going to lay a price with them here. Not a great start to the season for the Minnesota Wild so far. All right, we're out of time, but we got best bets to end the show. I'm going to quickly say mine. It's Toronto-Detroit over 6.5. You know it. We've been riding Toronto overs the last 2 shows for best bet. It's worked. Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Toronto-Detroit over 6.5. My best bet. Jimmy, what do you got for best bet?
You know, I'm going to go back to my Sharks puck line there. I'll take them getting a two goal or more win in New York.
All right, San Jose puck line. Andrew, best bet.
Yeah, this Oilers team didn't have the best start against New Jersey, and I think they will tonight really show up. Boston is scoring goals at a very high level right now, and I think it should come easy. We're going over 6 in this one.
All right, Oilers Bruins over 6 for Andrew. And Alex, best bet for you to wrap it up.
Going with my Blackhawks, like I said, plus 125. You can find $1.30. Still shop around, use SBR odds, but I'm going with the Blackhawks. Take care of business here in St. Paul tonight.
All right, Blackhawks as an underdog against Minnesota. Alex's best bet. That's going to wrap up the show. Great show. Got through all 12 games on the card. Nobody does it better. Nobody does it like we do from a hockey betting perspective right here on the NHL Ice Guys 3 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be back Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern with our next edition of the NHL Ice Guys. For my line mates, great line mates, the best. I wouldn't trade them for anybody. Jimmy Murphy, Andrew McGinnis, Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review. Enjoy the Thursday night NHL card, and we'll see you again on Saturday. Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.